The story begins on a quiet morning in Los Angeles. We follow Eve as she drives her two kids, Josh and Izzy, to school. Everything feels normal, calm, just another ordinary day. But that peace is shattered in an instant when the ground starts to shake violently. The streets crack open, buildings collapse, and within seconds a massive sinkhole forms right in the middle of the city, swallowing cars, structures, and countless lives. Eve and her children run for their lives, but in a split second, Josh stops to help a stranded child, and that hesitation changes everything. The ground beneath Eve suddenly gives way, and she falls into the darkness below, disappearing into what seems like an endless void. And in that moment, everything changes. This is La Brea. At the same time, we are introduced to Gavin, Eve's ex-husband and a former pilot, whose life fell apart after being fired 3 years earlier. Since that incident, Gavin has been haunted by strange visions that never quite made sense. A call from Izzy brings him to the disaster site, where he witnesses something terrifying. Giant prehistoric birds suddenly burst out from the sinkhole, and the sight hits him hard. These creatures are exactly what he has been seeing in his visions all along. Far below, Eve eventually regains consciousness. Just before she passed out, she remembers seeing a bright green light. But when she opens her eyes, she is not in a dark pit. Instead, she finds herself in a vast, unfamiliar landscape. Nearby, a large rock bears a bloody handprint, fresh and unsettling. She tries to get a signal on her phone, but there is nothing. No connection, no sign of modern life. Panic starts to set in as she searches for Josh. During the search, her wedding ring slips off and falls onto the dry ground, left behind without her noticing. Not long after, she spots smoke in the distance. That leads her to Josh and a group of survivors who also fell into the sinkhole. They gather among wrecked cars and broken debris, using whatever they can find as shelter. A man named Sam steps up and warns everyone that survival depends on gathering as much food and medical supplies as possible. But before they can even begin, a low growl echoes from the bushes nearby. The atmosphere turns tense in an instant. Then suddenly a wild creature emerges and attacks.
Go!
Eve does everything she can to protect Josh from a brutal wolf attack. Just as things seem hopeless, a gunshot rings out. A man named Ty manages to take the creature down. They survive the encounter, but Josh is left with severe injuries. Sam, who turns out to be a doctor, quickly moves Josh into an old bus to treat him. His condition is critical, and he needs antibiotics and proper medical equipment to stay alive. Eve realizes that during the chaos above, an ambulance also fell into the sinkhole. That could be their only chance. With no other option, they form a small team and head out into the prehistoric wilderness, determined to find the ambulance, even though it means facing a world filled with deadly predators. Back in Los Angeles, tension rises inside the Department of Homeland Security. A woman named Sophia steps forward and delivers a firm statement to the media. The government will not send rescue teams into the sinkhole. Instead, they will rely on military drones to survey the area from a distance. At the same time, Gavin is hit by another powerful vision. This one feels different, more vivid than ever. He can clearly see Eve and Josh struggling to survive. That is when everything finally clicks for him. What he has been seeing all this time is not just imagination, it is real. His family is trapped in a world that exists thousands of years in the past. Sophia and Agent Markman begin the drone operation, but as soon as the drone approaches the green light at the bottom of the sinkhole, the signal is completely cut off. The sudden failure reminds Sophia of a similar event that happened in a desert 3 years earlier. Gavin, already aware of what is coming, rushes to the military site to warn them. He even calls out the drone's code name to prove that his visions are real, but no one believes him. Refusing to give up, Gavin returns home and discovers an old photograph that shocks him. In the picture, he and Eve are standing in front of a rock marked with a bloody handprint. It is the exact same rock from his visions. He immediately goes to the real location and starts digging around the area. There, buried beneath the ground, he finds Eve's wedding ring, preserved for thousands of years. He shows it to Izzy, hoping she will believe that her mother is still alive somewhere in the distant past. Meanwhile, scientific reports begin to surface. The birds that emerged from the sinkhole are confirmed to be species that went extinct long before human civilization began. Gavin takes the ring to an expert and has it tested using carbon dating. The story then shifts back to the prehistoric world. A military officer named Marybeth fires a flare into the night sky. The bright signal is spotted by a mysterious old man named Silas, who watches from a distance. Elsewhere, Eve and Sam continue their search, only to find Ty in a desperate state, on the edge of doing something irreversible. Eve quickly steps in and manages to calm him down, giving him a reason to keep going. Ty suddenly remembers where the ambulance might have landed. The three of them move quickly and manage to find the antibiotics that Josh desperately needs. But as Eve looks toward the distant hills, her heart starts racing. She realizes something unbelievable. This place is actually the outskirts of Los Angeles, but in a much more primitive form. The moment is interrupted when a saber-toothed tiger suddenly emerges from the bushes. Ty tries to shoot it, but another one joins the attack, forcing them to run in panic.
Is it dead?
God, there's another one!
In the chaos, Sam falls down a slope. Just as the predator is about to strike, it suddenly drops into a deep trap hidden in the ground. The trap was made by humans, which means they are not alone in this time. With Sam now unable to walk, he urges Eve to take the medicine and go on without them. It is the only way to save Josh. Reluctantly, Eve leaves them behind and heads back into the dangerous wilderness on her own. Not long after Eve leaves, Ty and Sam hear footsteps approaching. When they turn around, a man named Lucas is already standing in front of them, watching with an unreadable expression. The story then shifts to Marybeth, who finally locates a car that fell into the sinkhole. Inside, she retrieves a green bag, clearly hiding something important. Around the same time, she encounters two sisters, Veronica and Lily. Lily is unable to speak, and Veronica, with a heavy expression, explains that their father was killed by a wolf. She wants to give him a proper burial. A young man named Scott offers to help, and together they follow a trail of blood through the forest. Eventually, they find the father's body, but something about the scene feels wrong. The body is carefully arranged among rocks, forming a strange handprint pattern, as if it were part of some kind of ritual. After the burial, they return to camp, but the uneasiness lingers. Not long after, Eve arrives and immediately gives Josh the antibiotics. Slowly, his condition begins to improve. Elsewhere, Lucas and Ty manage to bring Sam back to camp. That is when a surprising truth comes to light. Lucas is actually Marybeth's son, but instead of a reunion, Lucas refuses to even speak to her, creating an awkward and painful distance between them. The story shifts back to the present. Two government agents take Gavin to meet Sophia. They reveal shocking news. The carbon dating results on Eve's ring show that it is over 10,000 years old. That confirms it without a doubt. The sinkhole is a time portal. Sophia then shares another secret. 3 years earlier, the plane Gavin was flying crashed at the exact location of a similar anomaly in the desert. Now the government has developed a high-tech aircraft designed to pass through the green light. The chosen pilot is Levi, who also happens to be Gavin's close friend. The next day in the prehistoric camp, tension rises as food supplies start to run low. Arguments break out, but everything is suddenly interrupted when a massive creature appears and attacks the camp. Chaos erupts as everyone runs to survive. The creature devours what little food they have left before disappearing back into the forest. Scott, drawing from his background in anthropology, explains that the animal belongs to a species that existed around 12,000 years ago. That realization hits Eve hard. They can no longer rely on whatever supplies fell from the modern world. If they want to survive, they need to learn how to hunt. But Lucas has other plans. Stubborn and determined, he heads into the forest alone, hoping to find a way out. Worried, Marybeth follows him. Along the way, she discovers a large trap hidden beneath the ground. That discovery confirms something they have been starting to fear. They are not alone out here, and whoever else is in this world may be far more primitive and far more dangerous. Back at the camp, Sam's condition takes a turn for the worse as he begins to lose all feeling in his legs. With no other option, he asks his daughter Riley to perform a risky procedure by injecting directly into his spine. Riley hesitates at first, her hands shaking since she is still just a medical student. But with encouragement from Scott and Josh, she finds the courage to go through with it. Somehow, the dangerous procedure works, and Sam slowly regains feeling in his legs. Elsewhere in the jungle, Eve and Ty are trying to hunt for rabbits when things quickly spiral out of control. A massive bear suddenly appears and blocks their path, With no way to fight it, they run into a dark cave to escape. But the bear keeps chasing them, triggering a collapse that seals the cave entrance completely. As they move deeper into the darkness, they are surprised to find Mary Beth and Lucas trapped inside as well. Now forced to work together, the four of them search for a way out and eventually discover a small pool of water at the end of the cave. Ty decides to go first, diving in to find an exit. One by one, the others follow. But beneath the water, they come across something disturbing. The body of a man lies at the bottom, and his clothing clearly shows that he is from the modern world. Eventually, they manage to escape the cave and stumble upon a patch of edible mushrooms. They quickly gather as much as they can and bring it back to camp, giving the survivors a much-needed new food source. Back in the present, Levi begins his mission, flying a specially designed aircraft straight into the massive sinkhole. As he approaches the green light, everything suddenly goes wrong. The engine shuts down completely, and all radio contact is lost. At the control center, everyone assumes the worst.
You copy? Levi, what's going on? Levi!
But Levi survives. He manages to pass through the unstable time barrier and lands in the past using an emergency parachute. Moments later, the survivors witness the familiar green light once again, followed by the wreckage of Levi's aircraft crashing down in pieces. Without wasting time, Eve and the group head out to find the crash site. When they finally locate Levi, hope returns. He is carrying a signal tracking radar, which could be the key to finding a way home. They move together, hoping there is still a chance to repair the aircraft. But the journey is far from easy. While crossing what seems like a calm river, the water suddenly turns violent. A giant snake emerges and attacks Riley. Just in time, Levi reacts quickly and shoots the creature, saving her life. When they finally reach the wreckage, reality sets in. The aircraft is completely destroyed and cannot be repaired without proper tools. Before leaving, Levi checks his radar and picks up a mysterious signal about 4 miles away. That night, as they rest, Levi returns Eve's wedding ring to her. He reveals a truth that changes everything. Gavin was never crazy. The visions he had all this time were real. Back in Los Angeles, aftershocks begin to shake the city once again. Gavin experiences another vision, this time seeing Eve together with Levi. The image feels clear and urgent, pushing him to act immediately. He heads to Markman's office and accidentally comes across a highly classified file. Inside, he finds a photo of Sophia standing next to a scientist named Dr. Rebecca, marked with the number 4. That number reveals something shocking. The time portal has opened 4 times before, and the government has been hiding this truth from the public all along. Feeling betrayed, Gavin takes the file and tracks down Dr. Rebecca. That is when Sophia reveals a dark secret. 3 years ago, a group of scientists, including her fiancée Diana, entered the portal, but the green light suddenly disappeared, leaving them trapped in the past with no way back. Now they have one final chance. A new aircraft has been prepared to pass through the portal, and this time, Gavin is chosen as the pilot. Back in the prehistoric camp, tensions rise between Lily and Veronica, eventually turning violent. Terrified, Lily runs off into the forest. But instead of safety, she stumbles upon a discovery that shocks everyone. They find a body, and Sam quickly determines that the man died from an electrical strike. That makes no sense in a world this primitive. Ty, who is a psychiatrist, gently approaches Lily and helps calm her down. With patience, he gets her to open up. She reveals that she saw an old man with a handprint mark on his back. That man is Silas, who has been secretly watching them all this time. Meanwhile, Levi and the group follow the radar signal until they arrive at a strange and mysterious village. There they discover a temple marked with the same handprint symbol Lily described. Eve and Levi enter the structure and find the remains of one of the scientists who disappeared 3 years earlier. That is when Levi realizes how dangerous their situation really is. He quickly grabs a radio from near the body and urges Eve to leave, but they are already too late. In another part of the village, Lucas and Scott are suddenly attacked by hostile villagers. They are captured, tied up, and left with no way to escape. The tension continues to rise as Josh and Riley accidentally discover a hidden door that seems to lead out of the village. But the moment they step through, the door slams shut behind them. Waiting on the other side are armed villagers, ready to strike. With no other choice, Josh and Riley run for their lives. At the same time, Eve and Levi are cornered and forced to hide inside a small house. Inside, they find a group of frightened children. One of them shares a warning about Silas, saying that he always tells them to stay away from people who fall from the sky because they are believed to bring disaster. Eve calmly tries to reassure the child that they mean no harm. Slowly, the fear fades. Trust begins to build. And in the end, the child shows them a hidden path that leads them safely out of the village. Meanwhile, Lucas and Scott regain consciousness, only to realize their hands are tied. Luckily, Lucas still has a lighter in his pocket. Taking a risk, he burns through the ropes and manages to free himself just before the guards return. Chaos quickly spreads through the village. With the help of the child who guided them earlier, Eve, Levi, Josh, and the others manage to regroup. But just as they are about to leave, Silas appears with a group of villagers, surrounding them with clear hostility. At the last moment, a woman named Para steps in. As the leader of the village, she orders her people to lower their weapons. She allows Eve and her group to leave, but with one strict condition: they must never return. With no time to argue, they head back to camp and share everything they discovered. That night, a dark truth comes to light. Ty approaches Lily, who is clearly shaken by Veronica's harsh treatment. Slowly, Lily reveals something disturbing. Veronica is not her sister. She was kidnapped by Veronica and her father a year ago. Once her secret is exposed, Veronica panics and runs off into the forest. Back in the present, Dr. Rebecca brings Gavin and Izzy to an excavation site that matches the exact location of Eve's camp in the past. There, something incredible happens. They uncover a metal container holding a letter written by Eve herself. It is a message from 10,000 years ago, written at the same moment in the past. In the letter, Eve apologizes for never believing Gavin's visions. She also leaves a warning. If the green light in the sky begins to fade, Gavin must come immediately. Once it disappears, the portal will close, and they will be trapped forever. Back in the prehistoric world, Levi continues working on the radio until he finally picks up a faint signal. To his surprise, the voice on the other end belongs to Diana, the scientist who disappeared 3 years earlier. She is still alive, but her plane crashed near the coast. Levi quickly realizes that parts from Diana's aircraft could be the key to fixing his own. Without hesitation, he and Eve drive an old Jeep across the harsh terrain until they reach the shoreline. There, they are reunited with Diana, who has been surviving alone for years. Meanwhile, in the present, the situation takes a darker turn. Agent Markman arrives and orders all portal research to be shut down. At the same time, the excavation team uncovers the wreckage of Levi's aircraft buried underground, filled with bodies. Seeing this, Gavin understands the truth. Levi's plan will end in complete failure, and everyone involved will die. Desperate, he tries to reach Rebecca's plane to enter the portal on his own. But before he can escape, Markman captures him and places him in handcuffs. In that moment of desperation, Sophia appears. Gavin has only one question left in his mind. He needs to know if there is any way to send a message back to the past. Meanwhile, deep in the prehistoric forest, Ty tracks down Veronica, who is hiding on her own. Feeling sympathy for her, he tries to convince her that she is also a victim of her father's cruelty. But Veronica's trauma runs too deep. In a sudden outburst, she strikes Ty in the head with a wooden block, knocking him unconscious. When Ty finally regains consciousness, he is barely alive. Thankfully, Para arrives just in time and saves him before it is too late. Back at the camp, tensions reach a breaking point. Mary Beth is forced to shoot Diana in self-defense.
No, we're not going anywhere.
No, you're gonna be okay. Diana.
We have to get her to Sam.
But the incident sparks anger among the survivors. The group decides to hold a vote to determine whether Mary Beth and Eve should be banished from the camp. This leads to one of the most painful moments for Eve. Even Josh, her own son, raises his hand against her. The decision hits her hard and leaves her completely devastated.
Who here wants them to go?
At the same time, Gavin finds himself in trouble once again. He is arrested and forced to sign a legal agreement that prevents him from interfering with government affairs. After being released, he seeks out Sophia and reveals a deeply personal truth. He was adopted, and he has no memory of his early childhood. He believes that the answers to his visions are tied to his true identity. Sophia quickly begins investigating, and their search leads them to an old church where Gavin was raised. There, an elderly woman immediately recognizes him. She explains that many years ago, Gavin was found wandering alone alongside a mysterious 12-year-old girl. Both of them had lost all memory of who they were, Eventually, they were separated and adopted by different families. The revelation shocks Gavin. He has no memory of ever knowing that girl. They continue their search and track down the girl's last known address. But when they arrive, the house is empty. Still, something there sends a chill down Gavin's spine. In the yard, stones are arranged in the shape of a handprint, the exact same symbol he has seen in his visions and in the prehistoric village. Back in the ancient world, a new danger approaches from the sky. A massive snowstorm begins closing in, forcing everyone at the camp to scramble for shelter. In the middle of the chaos, Mary Beth, overwhelmed with guilt, decides to leave the camp for good. But everything changes in an instant. A large construction pole begins to collapse, threatening to crush Lucas. Without hesitation, Mary Beth rushes in to save her son. A loud impact follows, and both of them end up trapped beneath heavy debris. The group tries to lift the structure, but it is far too heavy. At that critical moment, Sam steps in and uses his knowledge of chemistry. He creates an improvised explosive using leftover materials. The blast shatters the debris, finally freeing Mary Beth and Lucas. Against all odds, they both survive. After the storm finally passes, the survivors begin to understand how important it is to stand together. They choose to forgive Mary Beth and Eve, allowing them to stay and continue fighting as one group. Not long after, Ty says his goodbye to Para inside a hidden cave before heading back to camp. But the brief moment of calm is suddenly broken by Lily's terrified scream echoing through the forest. She claims she saw someone watching them. Everyone immediately gives chase. In the end, they manage to catch the mysterious figure, only to realize it is just a young boy from the village they encountered earlier. His name is Isaiah. He is injured after trying to escape, so they decide to take him back to camp for treatment from Sam. Isaiah's presence sparks an idea among the survivors. He might be the key to building peace with the villagers, so they decide to return him home using a jeep. Along the way, Isaiah makes a surprising confession. He admits that he has been watching the camp for quite some time and knows that they are not the dangerous people his grandfather warned him about. When they arrive at the village, tension rises as the villagers surround the jeep. But the moment Isaiah steps out safely, their anger begins to fade. Ty uses this opportunity to speak with Para and propose an alliance. If the villagers are willing to teach them how to farm and build proper shelters, both groups can live together peacefully. Para agrees, and the village opens its gates to them. As they begin learning how to survive together, Para shares the dark history of her people. 60 years ago, the green light first appeared in the sky. From it came dangerous outsiders carrying powerful weapons. Since then, people from the sky have continued to arrive. Some stayed, and over time their culture and language began to mix with the villagers. Meanwhile, old conflicts resurface when Veronica attempts to kidnap Lily again. Mary Beth and Sam react quickly and lock Veronica inside a vehicle. But not long after, her health suddenly declines, forcing Sam to release her and provide treatment. Back in the village, Levi starts investigating the strange deaths caused by electric shock. Silas explains that no one truly understands what causes it. The villagers simply follow an ancient ritual, placing the bodies within stone patterns shaped like a hand. Then suddenly everything changes. News spreads that Isaiah has been kidnapped. Panic breaks out and everyone scatters to search for him. Silas eventually finds Isaiah deep in the forest, but what shocks him even more is the identity of the kidnapper. It is Dr. Rebecca. Furious, Silas demands that she release his grandson, but Rebecca insists that Isaiah must fulfill his true destiny. Overcome with anger, Silas attacks her and escapes into the forest with Isaiah. Not long after, Eve and the others find Rebecca, badly injured and covered in blood. They quickly bring her back to the village. Levi immediately recognizes her from the classified files he once saw. But Rebecca refuses to speak to anyone, except for Eve. Meanwhile, in his hidden refuge, Silas begins to grow deeply suspicious. During the earlier confrontation, Rebecca did not call his grandson Isaiah. She called him Gavin. That detail starts to make sense in a disturbing way. Isaiah is actually a younger version of Gavin. Before Silas can act on this realization, he leaves to search for food. That brief moment gives Isaiah a chance. Thinking quickly, the boy makes his move and escapes, determined to find his own path. Back in the present, Gavin, Sophia, and Izzy finally arrive at the mysterious house. The moment Gavin steps onto the property, a strange feeling washes over him. Everything feels familiar, like he has been here before. Like he is returning to a place he once knew but forgot. In the backyard, he discovers a small hidden hole. As soon as he sees it, a flood of visions crashes into his mind, overwhelming him. At the same time in the past, Rebecca finally reveals the most terrifying truth to Eve. Isaiah is the key to everything. He must enter the green light because he is Gavin. If he does not pass through the portal to the year 1988, He will never be found by the church. He will never grow up to meet Eve. And most importantly, Josh and Izzy will never exist. They only have one day left before the portal closes forever. Back in the present, Gavin finally understands. What he thought were visions of the future are actually fragments of his own childhood memories, buried deep inside his mind. He realizes that he is Isaiah, trying to remember his way back. In the prehistoric world, the hunt for Isaiah begins. Josh is the first to find him, but Isaiah is moments away from being killed by a massive predator. Without hesitation, Josh drives straight into the beast, saving the life of the boy who will one day become his father. When Eve and Levi arrive, they notice something undeniable. A unique scar on Isaiah's hand, identical to the one Gavin has as an adult. That is when they are certain. This boy truly is Gavin. They quickly decide to take Isaiah to the portal, unaware that Silas is watching them from a distance, filled with anger. Back in the present, the mysterious girl finally appears. Her name is Ella. She is the same girl who was found alongside Gavin in 1988. Ella admits that she often experiences strange visions, but she has never been sure if they are real memories or just imagination. Back in the past, Eve and Isaiah are pushed to their limits as Silas and his people chase them down. The pursuit leads them to a fragile rope bridge hanging over a deep canyon. They manage to cross safely, and just as the enemies close in, Levi cuts the bridge, blocking Silas from following. Silas manages to capture Josh and Levi, who are left behind on the other side. Now Eve is faced with an impossible choice. Give Isaiah back to Silas, or watch her own son and Levi lose their lives right in front of her. At the same time in the present, the final piece of the puzzle falls into place. Ella looks at an old photograph and suddenly realizes the truth about who she really is. She is Lily, the young Lily who was once trapped in the prehistoric world, eventually traveled through time with Isaiah to the year 1988, where she lost all of her memories. They are the same person, but from different points in time. Back in the past, Dr. Rebecca arrives at the camp with urgent news. She announces that a smaller portal leading to the year 1988 will open for one full day. This is a rare opportunity for anyone who wants to leave the prehistoric world and return to a more modern time. After sharing the news, Rebecca meets Lily in private. She gives her a mysterious map and urges her to travel to 1988 together with Isaiah. She makes it clear that Lily's presence in the future is part of a fixed destiny that cannot be changed. With that, Lily gathers her courage and prepares for the journey. In the present, Ella searches through a box of her childhood belongings and finds the exact same map. It is not just any map. It contains a complete list of time portals, along with their locations and schedules all around the world. The story then returns to the past. Eve and Isaiah wait for Ty and Para, but no help arrives and time is running out. The portal is about to close. With a heavy heart, Eve tells Isaiah the truth. She asks him to run to the portal on his own, while she goes back to save Josh from Silas. But Isaiah cannot bring himself to leave her behind. He hides nearby and watches as Silas threatens Eve. Silas admits that he understands the consequences. If Isaiah leaves, Eve's family will disappear from history, but he does not care. To him, staying with his grandson matters more than the future of anyone else. Suddenly, Isaiah's position is discovered by Silas's men. Just as everything seems lost, Ty and Para arrive with the others from camp. Sam quickly takes down the guards, and Isaiah is finally secured. Without wasting time, Sam orders Riley, Marybeth, and Lucas to escort Isaiah to the portal as fast as possible. The rest of the group stays behind to rescue Josh and Levi. But then something terrifying begins to happen. Josh suddenly feels weak, and his vision starts to fade. It is a clear sign that the timeline is shifting. Because Isaiah has not yet entered the portal, Josh's existence in the future is slowly being erased. At the same moment in the present, Izzy begins to feel the same thing. The journey to the portal turns into a full-scale battle. Silas's men block Isaiah's group, armed and ready to kill. Marybeth steps forward and fires her weapon, protecting the others as they push forward. But in the middle of the chaos, one of the attackers manages to stab her. Even while badly wounded, Marybeth refuses to stop. She forces the group to keep moving and get Isaiah to safety. She stays behind with her son Lucas, holding off the remaining enemies. After the others are gone, Marybeth tries to make her way back to camp with what little strength she has left, but her injuries are too severe. In the end, she dies in Lucas's arms, leaving him devastated. Elsewhere, Eve, Josh, and Isaiah discover a massive cave that leads toward the mountain peak. Inside, they find an old wooden ladder reaching up to the surface. Josh climbs first, followed by Isaiah. Then disaster strikes. As Eve begins to climb, the fragile ladder suddenly collapses. In a split second, Josh manages to grab her hand and pull her up just in time, but the rest of the group is left behind below. With no time to look back, they continue their climb toward the top. Just as they are about to reach the final stretch, Silas suddenly appears. He shoves Eve aside and grabs Isaiah, trying to take him away. Isaiah struggles and fights back, refusing to live under his grandfather's control. At the same moment, Josh and Izzy reach their breaking point. Their bodies begin to weaken as if they are fading away, because Isaiah, the key to their existence, has not yet entered the portal. At the last possible moment, Ty and Para arrive. Ty points his weapon at Silas and tries to make him understand. He urges him to accept what must happen and let his grandson go. Something finally changes in Silas. He loosens his grip and lets Isaiah go. They reach the highest point, where the green light shines brightly across the dark sky. The portal to 1988 is right in front of them. Without hesitation, Isaiah jumps into the light. In that instant, everything stabilizes. Josh and Izzy immediately feel their strength return, proof that the timeline has been restored and their existence is safe once again. But the moment does not last. Lily arrives just as the green light begins to shrink and fade. She stands frozen, overwhelmed with fear. Riley and Josh try to encourage her to jump. Then suddenly the green light erupts. It expands violently and pulls Lily, Riley, and Josh into it all at once. In a flash, they are gone, thrown into the year 1988, a time where they were never meant to be. Back in the present, Sophia, Gavin, and Izzy finally locate the last coordinates from Rebecca's map. Right in front of them, a portal opens. Determined to reunite with his family, Gavin steps forward with Izzy and Ella, the adult version of Lily. Together, they jump into the portal, heading back to the prehistoric world. Meanwhile, at the survivors' camp, Dr. Rebecca takes Scott to a hidden area far beyond the village. What he sees there leaves him stunned. In the middle of the ancient wilderness stands a massive modern structure, and it raises one impossible question. Who could have built something like that? 10,000 years before civilization even began. So the moral of the story is, if your family tree starts looking like a Wi-Fi diagram, maybe stop jumping into glowing holes.